It's time for 41 is the Mic, a weekly Chiefs podcast with Nick Jacobs of KSHB 41 and Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mic starts now.
Yes, everyone, you are here for the Week 5 edition of 41 is the Mic. Chiefs fresh off a 26-13 win over the New Orleans Saints. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, alongside Derek Carr enthusiast Nick Jacobs from KSHB 41.
I'm a big Derek Carr fan, especially when he plays the Chiefs. I like Derek Carr punts. They're my favorite.
Derek Carr, old friend. Is he 4-13 now in his career against the Chiefs, I believe?
I don't know. I just know he throws a lot of interceptions if you pressure him.
You said it going into this game that you collapse the pocket, you get a little pressure in front of Derek Carr, you're going to get some Derek Carr punts. And that's exactly what the Chiefs got. And one of them landed in the hands of Brian Cook, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, no, that's just what he does. Like if you attack A gap to A gap, and even potentially if you space it out a little B gap to B gap, like he can't handle it. He can't function, and he'll fade away on his throws, and he'll throw off his back foot, and he just didn't have the arm talent to do that type of stuff and be able to put velocity on the football and be able to gauge the range and everything for the most part. And if he feels like you're showing blitz and you're going to blitz him, he gets even antsier with his decisions and he'll make some erratic throws. So that's just what that guy's done his entire career.
I mean, to me, it's a good place to maybe start with our impressions, because obviously there's a lot of good things to talk about. Offense had some good moments tonight. Defense did what it's been doing through the first 4 games, extended into game 5. They shut down the other team's run game, but a lot of that starts with exactly what you were talking about, and it starts with winning in the A gap, winning up the middle, and Chris Jones just continuing to wreck games week in and week out by himself, and with some help from his friends, Tershawn Wharton and Mike Pennell having good games. I mean, that's where a lot of the Chiefs' defensive success is starting, right?
Yeah, when the Chiefs are able to fingers crossed, get Charles Omenihu back, then I think it really cranks it up to a new level, and I think the Chiefs really start to have a pass rush that fans have been eyeing for quite some time. And I think the defense takes another serious step forward if Omenihu is able to come back and kind of be close to 80%. Doesn't even have to be 100%, but if he can be like 80% of who he was beforehand, that's a jolt that the Chiefs defensive line especially needs right now, because teams are doubling, they're tripling Chris, and Chris is doing everything he can, and like the other guys got to win their one-on-ones, and sometimes they do, a lot of times they don't. And Chris just needs another person along that line that can consistently win one-on-ones, and then it turns into a problem, and then they have to readjust at that point, and then that even helps the other pass rushers even more if there's 2 threats out there.
I mean, Chris, he's making it pretty clear. Chris Jones wants to be the defensive player of the year. Mm-hmm. To me, he's got to be in the conversation right now.
Oh, there's no doubt he's in the conversation. It's just, I guarantee right now, with the way he kind of talks to us at the podium, he really wants to get the sack numbers so that it forces that to become a reality instead of a possibility.
Yeah, he knows that it's sack numbers that gets the attention, but I mean, we're looking at the Chiefs, and once again, Alvin Kamara, the latest of electric running backs that the Chiefs have been able to shut down. And what's really been impressive to me, Nick, is that, we're talking about this, that week in and week out, the Chiefs have been able to shut down good running backs. You look at what the numbers that these guys are putting up when they're not playing the Chiefs. I mean, Derrick Henry has just run roughshod over the league over the last 4 weeks and was completely shut down by the Chiefs in week 1. And it's been a continuation. But so much of that to me is Chris Jones. I mean, and I don't want to show Mike Pennell short, and like I said, Turk and Derek Nottie, but that point of contact in the middle, and Nick Bolton obviously was a big part of it tonight, 11 tackles. I mean, if the run game can't get past the middle of the line and doesn't get past Nick Bolton, I mean, that's what you're seeing, what you're getting. I mean, the Chiefs are they're not stacking the box. They're not doing anything trying to take away the run. They're just taking away the run as a process of playing their defense, right?
Yeah, I think they like forcing teams to feel like they have to rely on the pass to be able to move the football, and they like to take away that physical element, and they like to take away the easiest way to get a quarterback to zero a lot of the time, and that's to be able to hand the ball off and let them run the ball for a little bit. And so Steve Spagnuolo has clearly made that a priority for this year for them to take that away. So like you said, with the Chris Jones, Mike Pennells, Tershawn Whartons, Nick Bolton's, Drew Tranquils, Leo Chenal, and George Karlaftis of the world, and Mike Dana as well. All those guys combined, they're just a collective effort that really stops teams from being able to kind of get into a rhythm and use the run game to help them get into a rhythm. And then you add in the way the Chiefs cornerbacks tackle and how physical they are tackling. They're some of the best tackling cornerbacks in the league across the board. So, I mean, from a defensive perspective, like the Chiefs may not have L'Jarius Sneed on their roster anymore, but if you look at that defense collectively, they're really not having a problem holding opponents to a certain number.
Yeah, they really aren't, and I mean, and since we're talking about the defense, let's stick there with the impressions. This was a Saints team that came in with averaging almost 32 points a game, top 10 in a lot of offensive categories across the board. Great success in the red zone, great success on third downs. The Chiefs won all of those. I mean, Saints came in over 50% on third downs. They were 4 of 10 today. I mean, Chiefs have been better than that, but that's still, you hold an offense to 40% or under. That's a good number on third down, obviously. But Saints really didn't even get any red zone attempts. I mean, the Chiefs just kept them out of there. And that was a big part of obviously being able to win this game tonight. Outside of the run game, outside of that, what really stood out to you about this defensive effort tonight?
Well, I mean, the first part of it is that like I said, you have 4 choices when you're playing the Saints offense right now. How do you want to pressure Derek Carr to rattle him? Or do you just want to let him sit back in the pocket and make it rain on you? Because the Cowboys did that and they made it rain. You want to go down that road? Can you slow down Kamara, and can you potentially take him away? And the Chiefs were able to do that because I think if I remember, it was like 2.6. Let me double check. 2.4. So they kept him to 2.4 on yards per carry, which is insane compared to where he was doing previously in a lot of the games. Then you have to make a decision at the receiver position. Do you want to take away Olave, or do you want to take away Shaheed? And the Chiefs tonight elected to take away Kamara and to take away Olave. And in doing so, they set the tempo, they set the rhythm for the entire game, and the Saints were not able to break through it because they took away 2/3 of what their offense actually has and will continue to be, whether they are or aren't playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, Olave, 2 catches for 10 yards. Trent McDuffie, big part of that tonight. Another big performance from him. I mean, wasn't really a weak spot in this Chiefs defense tonight. It seemed like across the board. I mean, everybody was making plays, and that to me is, one of the standout things about this defense is that it's a collective effort. I mean, they're certainly at this point, they're more than compensating for not having L'Jarius Sneed on this year's team. But there's still not. I still don't see a weak spot in this defense. There's just not seem to be a point that you can just simply say, if you're the offense, you're going to attack this part of the Chiefs defense. I mean, even Jalen Watson is holding up.
I'll say there is one part they can attack.
All right, you going to put it out there?
I am. It's Brian Cook, and the reason I say that is and I'm not just talking because of the touchdown tonight. Like his range from where he was before. He had the ankle/foot injury in that Packers game last year that kept him out the rest of the year. It hasn't come back. The acceleration that he had beforehand hasn't come back, and the range in the same way that he had it hasn't come back to where he used to be able to be. You could put him on single high, and you could be pretty confident he'd be able to get to the sideline within time when the football would be there. But now, I mean, it's at a point where it definitely has to you got to keep him too deep, and even when he is too deep, you got to figure out a way for him not to bite on something underneath, like he'd made that double move against him, and then he got turned around and then gave up that touchdown. So, like I said, I'm not just talking about this night specifically. It shows up routinely in coaches' film that from a range perspective, he's just not at the same spot where he was before the injury. And that's not a knock on him. It just may physically take him a while to get back to that point.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really maybe talked about the significance of that injury, but there's no doubt. I mean, that ankle injury, I think you put it into the category of just like a torn ACL. I mean, that's an injury that it's probably going to be a full year for him to come back before he gets to be back 100%. That's fairly typical for injuries of a significant nature that keep you from playing. I mean, because the recovery from that injury really kept him from being 100%. He wasn't really truly a full go until training camp. I mean, that was basically 6 months. No. And that takes a while then before your strength and your power and everything truly comes back. So there's a point to be made there, and there's no doubt. I mean, to me, obviously, that was the low point of the defense for the night. That was, Cook just got turned around, had no chance after he bit on the first fake. That was all she wrote. But you're right. The Chiefs made a concentrated effort to take away Olave, and it absolutely worked. They wanted to take away Kamara, absolutely worked, and they wanted to make Derek Carr uncomfortable. 3 for 3 in that category. Obviously, the other reason why the Chiefs win this game is that this was, to me at least, the most complete offensive effort that we've seen from this team so far this season. Mahomes goes over 300 yards, 331. They have a 100-yard receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster, the first time he's done that in almost 2 years. The last time he was with the Chiefs. The 100-yard rushing game from Kareem Hunt. A little concern for me, Nick, that the Chiefs got most of their production tonight from guys who were not on this team in August. They're guys off the street that are helping them right now. I think you'd like to have some more production from the guys who have been here for a while. But, I mean, this is a step forward for this offense from what we saw in the first month of the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, they took the next step again on Monday Night Football on a national stage because, I mean, Mahomes threw for over 300 yards and looked more like Patrick Mahomes of old. He looked confident in the pocket for the most part. He had to move around a couple times because of the left side of his offensive line there. And whenever Wanye got hurt, and I don't know exactly definitively what that was because it was a very unique injury. Part of me kind of wonders if there was, because I don't know if Andy touched on it in the press or whatever. I looked over the quotes and everything. Part of me kind of wondered if it was a cramp, because just the way his right leg gave out and the way he went down like that and the way he was down there. I mean, that, and the fact he came back out on the football field, I'm like, man, that could be, it's either something, he either pulled something or it's a cramp. But I was like, it looks like one of the two. So. But the fact he came out there, played the game, finished the game and everything kind of makes me wonder if it was that. But no, I mean, yeah, Mahomes, it felt like, I'll see on the coach's film, it felt like there's a couple spots where he may have missed Worthy on a couple deep passes. But I want to kind of see the circumstances in the pocket at the same time. And when I feel like the window opened up for him to be able to make that throw, and was there a clean path for him to make that throw? And then also, was there anybody around him that he would be having a process like, hey, if I throw, if I put my arm back this far, do they have a chance of hitting the football out or something, and that. And I think Mahomes processes all that. And I don't think people realize that or appreciate that or recognize how much Mahomes is processing on every single moment and every single play. Just like on the P. Ryan potential touchdown that they had right there, whenever he danced around, found a spot, created a window for P. Ryan, and then he threw it right there, tried to lead him, and then P. Ryan just kind of stopped right there. And it's just them not being on the same page. I'm not knocking P. Ryan on it. He hasn't been here long enough to be on the same page to know that, hey, just trust Patrick, man. Where he's going to put it, you'll be good.
Yeah, that was kind of a play that P. Ryan wasn't completely sure that ball was intended for him, and it was close enough that he should have just probably gone for it. but he wasn't completely convinced that there wasn't somebody behind him that Mahomes was throwing to. And that can happen. I mean, that's something that you have to learn in this, and just learn that, sometimes you just go for the ball in that situation. Yeah. You mentioned something about, Mahomes, and I thought we saw an extension of what we saw against the Chargers last week. I mean, it really began, I think, with that touchdown throw to Worthy at the end of the first half. And then we seem to see a little bit more of classic Mahomes in the second half, with just more authority in the throws, more confidence, a little bit more Patrick the Gunslinger. Tonight seemed like another extension of that. I mean, it seemed like he was much more comfortable. You mentioned, seemed to be more confident in the pocket, a little bit, more comfortable and confident, that even when there were some rough moments in the protection, he didn't seem to panic. I mean, and then obviously, once again, he slings another one towards Xavier Worthy that I haven't seen the official air yards on that. It looked like well over 60 or 65 yards, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, this seems like Patrick is getting to be more confident in his just accuracy, his velocity, everything, that maybe he just was hesitating a bit in the first, 3-4 weeks of the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you break it down in terms of carries and everything, if you look at, let's see, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to use Kareem Hunt first on this part of it, and then I'll go from there. With Kareem doesn't have the same level of explosiveness that he did when he was obviously here in 2017 and 2018. He just didn't have that. He didn't have that extra gear to be able to accelerate through and really be able to punish the defense at 10, 15, 20 yards downfield like he did when he was here at a much younger age in his career. He didn't have the same wear and tear and everything. What he still has, though, is the vision. Like, he still sees the hole really well. He knows where he's cutting. He just can't turn that extra gear, and he just can't accelerate it at a good level. It's like a engine that's got oil that's over it's past the 5,000 mile due date, and it just, when you hit that accelerator button, it moves along, but it doesn't move along at the speed you're expecting to be able to pass that car right next to you, and you're just kind of chugging along versus the Fast and Furious are gone in 60 seconds type of thing, where it's boom, now you're right by him. So, I mean, but I'm saying Kareem that guy can still take hits. He can still deliver some hits. And I'm just saying, his vision is still just as good as it was when he was here. And he has such a good grasp for that he gives them reliable snaps. With him, he's going to keep you on pace. He's going to keep you on the down and distance you want, whether that's 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. But what the bummer part is, what they're kind of missing is, I know I say it every week, but I'm going to continue to say it. If you watch the Bills game yesterday, James Cook early on, that's the type of running back that if the Chiefs had, from a speed perspective, not necessarily him, but from a speed perspective, Chiefs had that in their offense tonight. They don't have to worry about, doing anything fancy in the red zone. They're just like, hey, we're going to check it down here, run some clear out routes. It's going to be a touchdown. Or, hey, we're just going to check it down here. Boom, going to run it in touchdown. And they used to be able to do that with Kareem early on in Mahomes' career and run some crossing routes and some other things with Kareem and Kelsey to make it work, and Tyreek. But, yeah, they're at a point now where they just don't have inside the 20. Once you get inside the 20 to the red zone, you have a couple choices to make. Can you run pick routes that get somebody open for a wide open touchdown? Or do you have a reliable run game that can really work down the field, push some defenders off the line of scrimmage, and then just run it down their throat? That's kind of where the red zone kind of decides, for the most part, who the grown men are and who has to finesse. And so that's the thing that the Chiefs are going to have to continue to work on and figure out in the weeks ahead is, can they run the ball down people's throats even without an elite explosive running back, or are they going to have to finesse some people? So, I mean, the Chiefs have some guys on their line that can more than capable of power run game and a down people's throat. but it's not the entire collective line, unfortunately.
Well, Kareem got a lot of work tonight. I mean, 27 carries for his second game in essentially 9-10 months. That's a lot of work. I'm assuming that Andy Reid was comfortable giving him that workload, knowing that they got the bye week. It's an opportunity for him to get rested up.
Right.
If this does not let Kareem knock off the rust a little bit and just get into a rhythm, I mean, I think that they're also hoping that maybe tonight accelerated that process a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, first half averages 4.3 yards a carry. Second half, 3.3. I mean, I think you definitely saw the just wearing down and the attrition in the second half of having the 27 carries. A little bit situational too, but I mean, you said it. I mean, he's a grown man running. I mean, you see the Kareem that, you know, as far as just the vision, the contact balance, everything that he used to have. I'm not sold, like you said, I'm not sold that he's going to be able to, you know, bust out of a 75-yard carry. But I also see a guy that is going to get you probably a couple of yards every single time, even in obvious run situations. And if that doesn't lead into the one negative of this night, which is how do the Chiefs get better in red zone situations and at the goal line? Because tonight was abysmal. They've been bad in the red zone. They've been bad at the goal line. The red zone touchdown percentage going into this game was 24th in the league, 40.5%. It's going to go down because they were 2 of 7 against the Saints. Not good, but I think you noted it, Nick, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, they got too cute at times in the red zone. And when you've got Kareem Hunt, sometimes don't you just need to prove that you can pound the ball into the end zone, don't you?
That's the question they need to ask themselves during the bye week, because when they go down in the red zone, three things are coming. At some point, the shovel pass is coming, and it did. They're going to try the shovel pass. It's staple. It's trademark. They've been doing it since Andy Reid got here in 2013. I still remember Dexter McCluster being the guy that they shoveled it to sometimes, or being the guy they had in motion. So that doesn't change. Like that's been here from the beginning. Then they tried to. Now the people got on me on Twitter about this, and I'm going to say it here, and I'm going to say it bluntly, and then I'm moving on with my life. So when I said I felt like they got too cute on the Colin Saunders interception, people hopped all over me and said that it was a slant route. You're right. But here's the factors that come into play on that. One, you're running a pick route with Worthy. So you're hoping to get one of them open, but you're not 100% sure that's going to work out. And then on top of it, you create a risk of offensive pass interference. Like the risk is there, and it's going to be pretty legit depending on how it's executed. So there's that part of it. Second part is Mahomes, at what velocity he throws it at and where he places it that's gonna be a big determination if the receiver, one, can catch it, or two, is expecting where it's going to be at and can make a catch, or does it bobble, or does a defender potentially punch it out? And now what, in a normal situation, that would have just fallen to the ground. But with Colin Saunders, he recognized the play. And you can tell when you watch on replay, he recognized it. He didn't sell out like a defensive lineman normally would. He saw the run fake. Then he immediately turned and looked and saw it. And I guarantee the Chiefs ran this at some point, whether he was on scout defense a long time ago or something, and Colin had great recall on it. Because you never saw any other defensive lineman turn around and run to the exact spot of that play. But he did, and he was at the right place at the right time, and he was able to make an interception and make a fun highlight reel that is every defensive lineman's dream. And, and so that play, and on top of it, the other thing I'll say is I put it on Twitter, and you and I chatted about before the show. It was very eerily similar to that Seahawks interception that cost them a Super Bowl title. It's not exactly the same formation because you have to vary that up because you can't make it look very blatantly obvious. But the concept of what it's attempting to do is to get a slant route open and be able to use the run fake to do it. So, I mean, was the slant route there? Yeah, it was there. But the ball came in a little bit hot, and Juju had it a little bit behind him. And then the defender comes in, and Juju's expecting to make a punch, and then they do. And normally, like I said, that harmlessly falls to the ground. Except this time they had Colin Saunders on the other sidelines, and he recognized, on the field as well, and he recognized it and got it.
Right place at the right time. And you know what? I said it at the time, and I'm gonna stick by it. I mean, as a Chiefs fan, be frustrated. Yes, you should have scored in that situation. I would have given the ball to Kareem Hunt, see if he can pound it in. You've got to figure out if your offensive line, if you believe in them enough that they can get you those yards, get you that yard in that situation.
Just 1 yard.
Kareem can do it. I mean, I don't think there's any problem. But if that play was going to happen, if the Chiefs are going to turn the football over and they're not going to get into the end zone, and let's face it, I mean, 2 of 7, it seemed like they were just not going to get into the end zone when they got down to the goal line all night long. If anybody was going to make that play, you wanted Colin Saunders. You got to be happy for that kid.
Well,
I mean, he was a fan favorite here in KC for a reason. I mean, that was a good moment for the big guy.
Sure.
Get big man interception and a 36-yard return. That's the dream come true, Nick.
Yeah, no, I can't dispute it, Matt.
So I was happy for Colin, even though you hate to see it happen. But if anybody was going to make the play, at least it was Colin Saunders that made the play.
All right.
So, I mean, how is there an easy answer to this? What did the Chiefs, when they come back from the bye week, how should they tackle this as far as getting over the hump when it comes to the red zone? I mean, obviously they ran their tried and true favorite and got into the end zone with Kelsey and the Wildcat.
Mm-hmm.
And you broke it down. We've also seen that one play for 10 years.
Yeah. 2016, they ran it with Tyreek, and then they ran a handful of times with Ware, and then they ran it with Kelsey in 2019 against the Patriots. And then they ran it again tonight because it takes somebody who's a good read option threat that isn't a quarterback but played quarterback at some point, and that's what Ware and Kelsey both were at various times. And then you need the speed guy on one side, and then you need a running back that can potentially be your lead blocker on the opposite side. So that's the first time it's happened. Won't be the last. But yeah, no. So I mean, there's some tried and trues, and that's another one of them. And then they made one obvious tonight. It wasn't necessarily in the red zone, but it was the one where Carson Steele just needed to keep it not handed off to Worthy and compound the issue. But you could see it. You could see it because they were in a pistol formation. Mahomes is back a little bit further than he normally would be, and running back's clearly further back than should be. And then they run the little they run that and everything with the potential play, and so it just the blocking there on the end with the blitz at the same time, that didn't work out well. But no, I mean, I guess from a red zone perspective, you're going to here's another part of the Chiefs game that they haven't really had when you think about it compared to other Andy Reid teams, especially during the Jamal Charles era. They don't run a ton of screens. They really don't run a ton of screens when you think about it. With true offensive linemen getting out in the space and getting downfield, they don't run that as much. And maybe some of the defensive coverages they're going against, and I totally get that. But they also, I don't know if they necessarily have an explosive back that they can routinely run that with, like they did with Jamal Charles for like 5 touchdowns against the Raiders one year. So just all that combined, like, I mean, I think at the end of the day, they're going to have to use some 3 tight end sets, some 4 tight end sets. And I would love to see what looks like a goal line package. And then boom, they just shift out tight end. And, if Justin Ross ever comes back, he can be in a spot. And they just see if there's a matchup that they like. Is there a matchup they like among their 4 tight end set or 4 tall guy set? And are you comfortable throwing a fade? Do you want to run some pick routes on it? Do you want to run like a slant out route? Or do you want to run something, some crossers and corner routes, or what do you want to try to run, and then maybe that lightens the box to where you can just run it down their throat. So, but I mean, I would, is it predictable? Sure. But at the end of the day, there's another way. Hey, run goal line, put 2 more offensive linemen out there, run it down their throat. Challenge this is kind of where it's at, to where how effectively you can power run inside the 20 can help determine how well you can score touchdowns and not kick field goals.
Yeah, and I mean that's the. I mean, Harrison Butker had a decent night. Yeah, misses the 1 field goal from 51 yards. Other than that, I mean, he was all their scoring in the red zone for the most part. So it was at least they got points when they got into the red zone. They needed to get more. Only 2 of 7. Nope. Still frustrating as far as that goes. All right, Nick, going to the bye week. You're the Chiefs. What's your bye week strategy this week?
I mean, the Chiefs coaching staff's just gonna have to do a lot of self-scouting. What are they doing on first downs? What are they doing on second downs? What are they doing on third downs? If I'm in their shoes, one of the things the biggest thing is that you want every single coach. If I'm in their shoes, you want every single coach looking over everything red zone wise on offense, whether it's a defense or offense coach. Say they're a defensive coach. What is it that the Chiefs offense isn't attacking in all these red zone clips and all these red zone cut-ups through 5 games? And if it's an offensive coach, where are they lacking at? Is it in execution? Is it in something creativity wise? Where is that happening? And then on top of it, they've got to ask themselves and Andy Heck, is there something from a blocking perspective that you need to lean on more inside the 10, inside the 5? Should they just double at the point of attack and try to use their power to run in that way? Or do you want them to run some kind of zone, or do you want them to run power, man blocking? What do you want to try to do and try to come up with an answer there? Or come up, in my opinion, come up with a couple different strategies and run them different weeks. Whenever you see certain defenses you want to, and then work through each one and see if there's something you can do or build on. Because especially when they get down inside the 5 and 10, they really don't do a lot of pulling. They don't do a lot of counters. Don't do a lot of, misdirect type runs. They don't seem like to do a lot of quick traps. And so, and it may just be because they don't feel comfortable with how condensed the formation is, and all that. And I get it, but I think that's the number one thing they got to work on. And for the defense, it really, in my book, is just a matter of what can you do to create a better pass rush and a more unpredictable pass rush with the blitzes. Is there something a little bit more exotic you've saved that you can start really trying to work on or put in teams' heads for December and January?
Well, the only thing really left to figure out is, personnel-wise, injury-wise, Chiefs are in pretty good health. They're in pretty good situation going into the bye week. It's not like that they've got a lot of guys that you're just thinking, okay, you hopefully get them back. But the Rashee Rice injury situation had a lot of confusion on Monday with some kind of dueling, not quite matching reports from the NFL Network and ESPN. I think by the end of the day, it all kind of got consistently with Rashee Rice that looks like injury-wise, certainly going to cost him the rest of the regular season. Not sure that anybody with the Chiefs is exactly closing the door on maybe the postseason, maybe very similar to Hollywood Brown's situation too, although I think there's more optimism with Hollywood Brown coming back for the postseason than with Rashee. Yeah. There's still not quite a definitive answer, but I think if you're the Chiefs at this point, you're definitely closing the door at least on probably having Rashee back. So if you're Brett Veach during the bye week, you're probably kicking the tires on some receivers too.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I still call around about running back, see if there's anybody on the market, but yeah, for the most part, you check around and see if there's a receiver that you'd like to add, or if there's somebody that's available that isn't going to cost you a ton. Because, I mean, personally, I'm expecting Devontae Adams to end up with the Jets. I think that they're going to do what they have to do desperately to be able to make that happen. I mean, it's probably just going to come down to if the owner will give the thumbs up on it. I'll be curious to see what happens with the Bengals in the weeks ahead. I'm not saying they'll trade anybody to the Chiefs, but I mean, I'll be curious to see if they have a fire sale if things keep going bad. And then we'll see what happens with the Jaguars and Panthers, and we'll see what happens with the Browns when they finally are willing to make the move from Deshaun Watson to any other quarterback, literally any other quarterback on their roster. And then they may have a chance again at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the trade deadline's still almost a month off, November 5th, so there is still time for the Chiefs to make a deal, and still time for some teams to figure out whether they're in their playoff race or not, how serious they are about trying to win this year. So a lot of things could still change over the next couple of weeks. Nick, we haven't really talked about it. I think we're going to be here for the Tuesday night live Q&A. I don't know if I can rope you into it 2 nights in a row, but
yeah, I haven't missed one. I haven't missed one other than the passing of my grandpa.
There you go. And you're a game day trooper, Nick. So we'll be here Tuesday night to answer your questions. Depending on how much sleep I guess we both get, we'll see how long we last. I can't guarantee it's going to be a 2-hour session on Tuesday night, but we'll see how much we can get in there. I will not be there for 2 hours. There you go. And then we haven't really figured out what we're going to do on the bye week. So we have to come up with some idea about what we can talk about Sunday for our next episode of 41 is the Mic. We'll come up with something, though.
I bet it's 49ers related.
Could be 49ers related, because we will be looking forward to the 49ers.
Oh, I've already looked forward to them. I already got it written down. It was already done. And then they play on Thursday, if I remember correctly.
There you go. So, quiet week, a little bit of a quiet week for the Chiefs with the bye week coming up, but plenty still to talk about and to answer your questions. And we'll be looking at the 49ers, looking ahead to, can't really the second half of the season, but looking forward to next couple of weeks for the Chiefs. So join us Tuesday night on the Chiefs Digest YouTube channel. And then, of course, Sunday, we'll have 41 is the Mic back in your feed for the podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast, where you should also be giving us 5-star reviews if you like it and like the podcast, so you can help other people discover it. Nick, any parting thoughts from you about wrapping up this game?
No, I got my closer, and that's about it at this point.
All right, everybody. Chiefs winning this one 26-13. 5-0. Only 2 teams left in the NFL undefeated, the Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings. It's an amazing position that they're in, Nick.
Yep. Until next time, I bid you adieu.
You've been listening to 41 is the Mic, presented by KSHB 41, your home of the Chiefs and Chiefs Digest.